Why did the most successful deer manager I know replace his entire $600 per year mineral program with a $1.80 earth battery system that outperformed commercial blocks on every metric he tracked? Because he ran a side-by-side camera comparison for a full season, and the metals outperformed the commercial blocks on every metric he tracked: mature buck visits, daylight activity percentage, and cost per deer photographed, and by the end of October, he could not justify spending another dollar on a product that a penny and a nail were beating for free. He calls the setup an earth battery. It is two different metals pushed into wet soil or a damp stump that create a continuous electrochemical reaction, releasing mineral ions into the ground for months without maintenance, without refilling, and without a single return visit that deposits human scent at the site. The concept has been on this channel before in different forms: the copper trick, the ghost lick, the battery method, the triple lick. If you have watched any of those videos, you already understand the core chemistry. This video is not about the chemistry. This video is about replacing your entire mineral program with one system and never buying a commercial block again. I ran a full season replacement test on a property in West Central Illinois last year, swapping every commercial mineral site with an earth battery, and the results were clear enough that I dismantled a mineral program I had been running for 9 years. I will walk you through exactly what I changed, what the cameras showed month by month, and why the economics make the commercial mineral aisle irrelevant. Stay until the end because there is a seasonal rotation calendar that tells you exactly when to install, when to add salt, and when to leave the sites alone, based on 3 years of camera data across 4 properties. Before you install any mineral system, check your state wildlife agency website. Mineral deposits in soil are classified as bait in roughly 20 states and restricted in CWD zones. What is legal in Illinois may be illegal in Indiana. 5 minutes of research protects your tag. The earth battery setup is simple, and I will keep this part brief because the build details are in the previous videos. 2 metals, copper and zinc. A pre-1982 penny provides the copper. A galvanized nail provides the zinc. Nail the penny into a punky stump, which is a stump that has been decomposing for 2 to 5 years and feels soft when you press your thumb into it. And the moisture in the wood creates an electrochemical bridge between the 2 metals that dissolves zinc ions and copper ions into the surrounding soil continuously as long as moisture is present. One earth battery costs about 15 cents. It runs for 12 to 18 months before the zinc coating on the nail depletes enough to need a replacement nail, which costs another nickel. The reason I am calling it an earth battery instead of a galvanic cell is because that is what it is. Alessandro Volta built the first battery in 1800 from alternating zinc and copper discs separated by cloth soaked in salt water. Your penny and nail in a wet stump is the same device using the same metals and the same electrolyte, which in this case is the moisture in the wood instead of saltwater-soaked cloth. The stump is the battery casing. The moisture is the electrolyte. The penny and nail are the electrodes, and the mineral ions released into the soil are the product. Volta's battery produced electricity. Your earth battery produces deer. The physics is identical, the application is different, and the deer could not care less about the application. They care about the zinc and copper ions dissolving into the soil around a wet stump. The penny costs a cent. The nail costs a nickel. And the chemistry that connects them has been understood since the 18th century. The full season test I ran started in April of last year on a 320-acre lease in West Central Illinois that I had been running a traditional mineral program on since 2016. The traditional program was 6 commercial mineral block sites. 2 blocks per site refreshed every 6 weeks from April through October. That was 12 blocks per refresh cycle, roughly 4 cycles per season, at $22 per block. Total annual cost was roughly $1,050 in mineral blocks, plus the time and fuel for 4 trips to the property specifically to refresh the sites. Each refresh trip took a full Saturday morning because I had to drive to the property, haul 12 blocks in a backpack to 6 locations across 320 acres, pull the old dissolved blocks, set the new ones, and walk back out. By the time I was done, I had walked through every transition zone and bedding edge on the property, wearing rubber boots that still smelled like the truck bed. I was maintaining a mineral program and destroying my scent profile on the same trip. I did not realize how much damage those maintenance trips were causing until I eliminated them. Each refresh trip deposited boot scent at 6 locations across the property. In April, I pulled all 6 commercial blocks and replaced each site with 2 earth batteries on punky stumps within 10 yards of where the blocks had been. 12 earth batteries total. Cost was $1.80 in pennies and nails. I installed all 12 in one afternoon in April, walked out, and did not return to a single site until I hung my Millennium stand in late October. 6 months of zero human presence at 6 mineral locations. The camera data told the story month by month. In April, the transition was rough. Deer that had been trained to visit commercial block sites for 8 years showed up, found no block, and milled around the area for a few minutes before moving on. Camera visits at the earth battery stumps were lower than the block sites had been the previous April, by roughly 30%. I almost panicked and put the blocks back. I did not. And that decision to wait through the April slump, instead of reverting to the blocks, is the reason the rest of this data exists. If I had panicked at the 30-day mark, I would have concluded that earth batteries do not replace commercial blocks, and I would still be spending $1,050 a year on mineral. The lesson is that any mineral site needs 4 to 6 weeks to build enough ion concentration in the soil to reach detectable levels for deer. Commercial blocks cheat this timeline because the block itself is visible and the salt content provides an immediate scent signal. The earth battery has no visual component, and the galvanic ion production starts slow and builds over weeks. April is the investment month. May is when the return starts. Everything in this video, plus 60 more field-tested techniques, is in the Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages of deer behavior, science, scent control, scouting methods, stand placement, and rut phase tactics with a quick reference card you can take to the stand. Link in the description below. QR code on screen. By May, the earth batteries had been producing ions in the soil for 4 weeks, and the deer had found them. Camera visits recovered to roughly the same level as the previous May's block data. The deer were pawing the dirt around the stumps, the same way they had pawed the dirt around the blocks. They had made the switch. By June, something shifted. The block sites in previous years peaked in June and held steady through July because the blocks were physically present and visible. The earth battery sites in June produced roughly 15% more visits than the same period the year before, with blocks. I did not expect that. My theory is that the blocks had been attracting deer through a combination of sight and scent, and the deer that were visiting based on sight, meaning they could see the block from the trail without smelling it, were no longer coming. The deer visiting the earth battery sites were coming purely on mineral scent detection, which meant they were the deer that were actively seeking minerals, not just deer that happened to notice a white block sitting on the ground as they walked past. The quality of the visits improved even though the quantity was similar. I noticed this first in the approach angles on camera. Deer approaching the block sites in previous years came from all directions, including directly upwind, which told me some of them were seeing the block before smelling it. Deer approaching the earth battery sites came almost exclusively from the downwind direction, nose to the ground, following the mineral scent. Every visit was a scent-driven visit. That pattern shift is what told me the earth battery was selecting for the deer that were mineral-seeking, rather than just curious about a white object in the woods. Mature buck visits in June and July increased by roughly 40% compared to the same months the prior year. I want to pause on that number because it is the most important data point in this video. 40% more mature buck visits. Same property, same camera positions, same time of year. The earth batteries were pulling more. Of the deer I wanted to photograph and eventually hunt than the $22 blocks had been pulling. My best explanation, and a wildlife biologist would probably refine this, is that mature bucks are more cautious around visible objects than young deer. A white mineral block sitting on the ground is a novel visual object that a 4-year-old buck has learned to associate with human activity over multiple seasons. He has watched other deer visit the block. He has watched the block appear and disappear every 6 weeks. He has smelled human scent at the block site on the same schedule. He files the block under things humans put in the woods. The earth battery is invisible. A penny nailed to a stump looks like nothing. There is no novel visual object for the buck to associate with human presence. There is only a mineral scent in the soil that his nose tells him is a natural mineral seep. His caution system never triggers because there is nothing to see. You have probably experienced this on your own property. The 3-year-old that shows up at the mineral block only after midnight on camera. The same buck that walks past your stand at 40 yards during daylight, 200 yards from the nearest mineral site where he has never smelled a human. He is not avoiding minerals. He is avoiding the human signature at the mineral site. Remove the human signature, and he comes during daylight. That is the entire theory of the Earth battery. Same minerals, no human. By August and September, the Earth battery sites were outperforming the block historical data by 20 to 25% in total visits and maintaining the 40% mature buck advantage. The zero maintenance factor was amplifying the results because I had not visited the sites since April. 4 months of zero human scent at 6 mineral locations. Same principle from the Ghost Lick video. The less you visit, the more the deer trust the site. On the block program, I was visiting every 6 weeks. That is 4 scent deposits per site per season. Those deposits were training the deer, especially the mature bucks, to treat the mineral sites as human activity zones. The Earth battery eliminated that training cycle completely. And that elimination is the most important advantage the system has over any commercial product. The minerals themselves are similar. Zinc and copper from the Earth battery. Zinc, copper, sodium, calcium, and phosphorus from a commercial block. The block provides more mineral diversity. I will admit that. But the block also provides 4 human scent deposits per season at the exact location you want deer to feel safe. The Earth battery provides 0. And 0 is the number that matters most for mature bucks during hunting season. A buddy who guides whitetail hunts in South Georgia ran a similar replacement test on 3 of his client properties last season. He switched from a buck bomb mineral program to Earth batteries on every site, and reported what he described as a noticeable shift in mature buck daylight activity at the mineral locations within 60 days of removing the commercial blocks. His exact words were, "The big deer are coming in daylight now." He is a guy who has guided over 200 clients in 11 years across South Georgia, and his observations carry more weight with me than any forum post because he sees the results across dozens of properties and hundreds of deer per season. He is not running a controlled study any more than I am, but the pattern he described, increased mature buck daylight activity after eliminating maintenance visits, is the same pattern I measured on my IL property. When 2 guys in 2 different states with 2 different deer herds see the same result independently, the probability that both of us are wrong starts getting slim. He attributed it to the elimination of the bi-weekly maintenance visits that had been conditioning the mature deer to avoid the sites during shooting hours. The one condition where the Earth battery does not replace a commercial block effectively is on properties where the primary purpose of the mineral site is to provide visible bait for bow range encounters during hunting season. Some hunters use mineral blocks not as mineral supplements, but as food stations where deer stop and stand still at a known distance for a clean shot opportunity. If that is your strategy, a visible block gives deer a reason to stand in one spot and lick. The Earth battery does not provide a visible object. Deer visit the site, paw the ground, lick the soil, and move on. The visit duration is shorter because there is no physical object holding their attention the way a 4-pound salt block does. On the IL property, the average visit duration on camera dropped from roughly 3 minutes at the block sites to about 90 seconds at the Earth battery sites. For camera survey purposes, that difference does not matter because you are counting visits, not duration. For hunting over the site with a bow, 90 seconds is still enough time for a shot if you are ready when the deer arrives, but it is less forgiving than 3 minutes. If visit duration at the mineral site is critical to your hunting strategy, add a tablespoon of rock salt to the soil around each Earth battery stump. The salt addition, same trick from the copper trick video, gives deer a sodium source to lick and extends the average visit time back to roughly 2.5 to 3 minutes, because the sodium keeps them pawing and licking the soil longer. Look, everything I am walking through here is in the Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages, scent control, scouting, stand placement, rut tactics, plus a quick reference card for the stand. Link in the description, QR code on screen. The The seasonal rotation calendar I promised at the beginning is based on 3 years of data from my IL property and 2 other properties in southern Vermont and Hill Country TX, where I trade camera data with hunting buddies. Install all earth battery sites in March or April, when the ground thaws and moisture is highest. This gives the systems 4 to 8 weeks to build mineral concentration in the soil before the peak antler growth period in May through July, when buck mineral demand is highest. Same timing principle from the DiCal video. Add a teaspoon of rock salt to each site in late May when daytime temperatures consistently exceed 70 degrees. The heat increases soil evaporation rate, which accelerates ion release from the metals, but also depletes the sodium that deer crave during hot weather. The salt addition compensates for the seasonal sodium deficit and keeps deer visiting through the summer heat. Same sodium biology from the Whitetail Facts video, where we covered how deer lose sodium through sweat and urine at higher rates during hot weather. A teaspoon of salt per site costs about 2 cents. Apply it once in late May, and the rain dissolves it into the soil around the stump over the following weeks. Do not visit the sites between May and October. 0 visits, no camera card pulls, no maintenance checks, no curiosity walks. Run cell cameras, which are trail cameras that send photos to your phone over a cellular network, or accept that you will not see the data until you pull the SD cards in October. The 0 visit window is non-negotiable if you want mature bucks using the sites in daylight during hunting season. Every visit between May and October is a deposit of human scent that trains the deer to shift to nocturnal activity at that location. I violated this rule once during my first season and checked a site in August because I was curious. I told myself I would be in and out in 5 minutes. I wore rubber boots. I sprayed down with scent killer. I took every precaution. And the cut-a-back camera at that site showed a 50% drop in mature buck daylight activity within a week of my visit, and it took 3 weeks to recover. 1 visit. Every precaution taken. 50% drop. 3 weeks to recover. The mature bucks knew I had been there despite every scent control measure I own. The rubber boots, the spray, the careful approach. None of it was enough to prevent a 4-year-old buck from detecting my presence and adjusting his schedule. I have not checked a site mid-season since. The data was expensive, but the lesson was worth it. My wife asked me once why I spend $30 a month on cellular camera service when I could just walk to the cameras and pull the cards for free. I told her the $30 was the cheapest way to keep my boots off the property. She said that was the most expensive form of laziness she had ever heard of. She was not wrong about the cost. She was wrong about the laziness. Staying off the property is not lazy. It is discipline. And it is the one discipline that separates hunters who consistently see mature bucks from hunters who consistently wonder where the mature bucks went. A GPS study from the University of Georgia tracked collar data from 37 adult bucks and found that bucks adjusted their daytime movement patterns within 3 to 5 days of repeated human intrusion into their core area. They did not leave the property. They shifted their movement to avoid the intrusion zone during daylight. Your bi-weekly mineral maintenance trip is an intrusion. The deer know you were there, and they adjust accordingly. The earth battery is the only mineral system that respects that biology by never requiring you to be there after installation day. It is the single most effective thing you can do for mature buck daylight activity. And an earth battery is the only mineral system I know that lets you do it because it never needs a refill. The commercial block program cost me $1,050 per year. The earth battery program cost me $1.80 per year, plus $30 for salt. Over 10 years, that is $10,500 in commercial mineral versus $320 in pennies, nails, salt, and cell camera service. My Tinks collection alone cost more last season than a decade of earth batteries. My Muzzy broadheads cost more per 3-pack. My Drake jacket costs more than a lifetime supply. The math is so lopsided that it is almost embarrassing to have spent what I spent on commercial mineral for 9 years before figuring this out. 9 years at $1,050 per year is $9,450 in mineral blocks, replaced by $1.80 in pennies and nails. I try not to think about it because the number makes me question every purchasing decision I made between 2016 and 2024. But the deer that are on my cameras right now at 4:30 p.m. in October, sunlight at sites that have not seen a human boot print in 6 months, make that $9,450 feel like tuition. Expensive. But I learned something. The deer do not read the label on the bag. They read the ions in the soil, and the cheapest source of continuous mineral ions in America is a penny and a nail in a wet stump. Install 6 sites this spring. Run cell cameras. Do not visit until October. And the next time you walk past the mineral aisle at the feed store, keep walking. Your earth batteries are already working. The commercial mineral program is designed to bring you back to the store every 6 weeks. The earth battery is designed to make the store irrelevant. One system sells you a product. The other gives you a principle. The principle is that 2 metals in wet soil produce mineral ions continuously without input, without maintenance, and without the human presence that makes every other mineral system work against itself. A penny, a nail, a stump, and the discipline to walk away and let the chemistry do its job. That is the entire system, and it costs less than the coffee you drank this morning on the way to the stand.